Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome to the Cold Coffee Hot Mess podcast. And it's Olivia.
And Nadine.
And we are so happy to be in your
We
ears.
are very happy. We're loving this.
Oh, gosh, this is fun. It's the highlight of my week.
Well, it's the highlight of my week spending all this time with you, Olivia.
I bet it is.
We're really getting to know each other.
On a deeper, more formal level. But tell me, how are you surviving school holidays?
Oh, my God.
Damn.
It is. Do you know, the mental load's hard enough, but I actually think the school holidays just takes that to a whole new level. And the organisation, the multitasking, the getting everyone involved, from parents to friends to, schools to camps to leaving work early.
12 weeks of school holidays a year? I want to know.
I need to be a school teacher, I reckon. They've got it sorted.
Let's give children 12 weeks off a year, but let's give parents 4. Like, even if they both didn't take any time together, we're still 4 weeks short.
It's not possible. It's crazy.
It's a nightmare.
It's difficult. It really is. There's no two ways about it, but you just got to get through.
Yeah, this is me next year, so I need all the tips. All the tips. Yeah. Lordy. So tell me actually practically how you're getting through each day. Like, are they going to camps? I know there's like camps and stuff they can go to.
Well, it's sort of mixed up. So as you know, I try and give back with my parent friends in the family group. So I'm trying to do play dates on Mondays and Fridays. I've got a babysitter in today, for example. I've got my parents helping one day. I'm taking an annual leave day next Thursday so I can do that day and take them out. I mean, it's just a juggle. Yeah, I've got something on every day, but it's like I literally get home at night, speak to Ed, okay, what's happening tomorrow? That's all I can think about. But I've lined some play dates up on the Fridays to kind of give back to all those parents that helped me out during the term. So,
and you've got New York coming up.
And I've got New York coming up. I've been in overwhelm at the moment, so I'm just surviving.
You are going to need to.
But you know that hack about writing things out at night? I did that last night in the notes, and I wrote everything I was thinking about in my head, and I slept really well.
Oh,
so
amazing.
That's helping me.
That's good. That's amazing.
I learnt that from you. So anyway, back to reality. Let's go. What are you talking about today, Liv?
We've got the modern midwife, Monica Maitland, and she's from the Midwife Society. She's amazing. She's leading the pathway in terms of like where midwifery is going. And we've got 10 things that every pregnant person should know. And she's even going to bust a few myths.
Yeah, she's going to be debunking some myths. Yes, that's my favourite.
I love it.
All right, well, let's get into it. No time to waste.
So today we are so pumped because we have a very special friend from One Fine Baby with us today. Her name is Monica Maitland. She's from the Midwife Society. She's a qualified midwife and nurse, and she's delivered hundreds of babies.
Hundreds. The Midwife Society. I love that name.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Cute? Hi, Mon.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast. It's amazing what you guys are doing, and especially with all your One Fine Baby stuff.
You're very welcome.
Look at all this mutual love.
I know, but I had the pleasure of, meeting you guys face to face the other week at the expo in Melbourne. And look where we are now.
See, making it happen.
Yeah. Aim for the stars, land on the moon, right? That's where we are. That's good.
That's right. I'll take that, Liv. Okay. So we've got an exciting one today.
Yeah.
We are myth debunking again.
That's right.
Popular topics.
So popular. So there's a lot of myths around midwives, right? A lot of people have these very like archaic views about midwives.
Like really old school and you know, that judgmental and that they're going to like judge us on the decisions that we make and things, but it's not like that. It's not, is it, Monique?
No, and I guess I like to refer to myself as, obviously I'm a registered midwife and nurse, but I like to say that I'm a modern day midwife in the way that, especially with what I'm doing with the Midwife Society and working with hundreds of women all the time, I've just seen how things don't often go the way that women, I say in quotation marks, planned. And I see that things need to step away from the norm for some people, and every woman needs to do what's best for her. And I guess as a society of women, we can be very judgmental about what often other women are doing. And I certainly see that birth is not one size fits all. There is not one mold that works perfectly for someone else. And that's what I'm very passionate about, is supporting women.
For sure.
And that's the advice we keep receiving. You can go so far to plan your birth, but you just have to accept that it may not go to plan.
Yeah.
Women always say, should I make a birth plan? And I actually try to refer to a birth plan as your birth wishes. So creating, a birth wishes list. I don't like the word plan because there is so many different types of normals around birth. And I think sometimes we go in with only one version of normal. with the blinkers on, which we spoke about just before.
Which is totally me. So I went in on my birth with my complete blinkers on. I was just like, I'm just going to trust the profession. I'm not going to do any research whatsoever. I don't want to know about any of the gore. Like, you just make it happen, and I am your worst client, right? Is that what you were saying before?
You're lucky that you didn't know me now or before, because I would have been like, Nadine, come on, that is actually not the best thing to do. But I totally understand why women do that. And I think you were saying before, it's because you have so much trust in like your health professionals caring for you. And the whole reason why I started doing what I'm doing today with, you know, obviously my childbirth education stuff, it's because I see in the maternity system in Australia how quick women sort of get pushed through. And it's the hard, but it's the truth of the modern day maternity system in Australia. So
I mean, my sister-in-law just gave birth and she was out that afternoon. She gave birth in the morning and she was out by 5 p.m.
What, is she high? Why would she do that?
Well, they just let her go. Like, they were just like, I
was there for like 5 days.
I know.
Like, I was going to check in. I needed my parking extended.
Well, we're talking to Holly in another episode, so we'll ask her all those questions.
Yeah, please. Okay.
But shall we get into the debunking of the myths?
Definitely. Kick it off. This is a big one, okay? Midwives hate epidurals. That's what everyone thinks. Is that true?
Yeah, only because they keep saying, no,
you don't need
no time.
You're too far along.
time left.
That is honestly one of the biggest questions that I get asked, and certainly educating a lot of parents these days, it's often the question is, when is it too late to get an epidural? And the thing is, we are not trying to prevent you from getting the epidural. Literally the only time that we're going to be like, I'm really sorry, but we can't get you the epidural is if you are about to birth your baby. Like, if
and
you
what is that at?
Is that 10 centimeters? Like,
so we need the cervix to be 10 centimeters dilated for obviously your baby to pass and be born vaginally. But I'm talking like starting to see head on view. So we're able to visualize that the baby's head is close to being born. And of course, the whole process, so you have to set up the epidural, probably takes about 10 minutes to get a woman positioned. And then the extent of the epidural working is up to 20 minutes. So you can see how.
So it's literally a time. There's no adverse reaction to getting it at that point. It's just literally like there's no point because the baby's going to be out by the time
you've been
it
through
kicks
the
in.
pain.
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
So it's more to get an epidural, you have to be so still sitting on a bed. Imagine, I mean,
which is
guys
hard,
have
isn't it?
Yes. And I was going to say, the anaesthetist is often the woman's best friend. When they walk into the room and they say, sit still, the woman will sit still. I promise you. I'm like, gosh, you've been moving around this whole entire
When I saw
time.
my anaesthetist come through the door.
Oh, it's like God.
It was like seeing the Lord himself walking through the door. He had a halo. He was glimmering around him. I was like, I don't even care about anything else in the world. I just want him and me. I'll do whatever you want.
I know.
Just tell me.
I'm like, I have been sifting your poo out of the bath, and now you get out of the bath and finally you listen to what they are saying, and you wouldn't listen to me this whole time, and this person just walks in, that your new best friend.
But he has the drugs, Mon. He has the drugs. You gotta understand.
I know.
Or he or she has the drugs.
See, that's the one thing I wish I had have known about, the poo coming out. No one told me about poo coming out, and I had no idea.
No one told you?
No, I
You really were under a rock.
I really was. But my midwife kept cleaning around my back, and I'm like, what is she doing? And then it's like, your poo is coming out. And I was like, I died with embarrassment. Like, that was my
Why would he tell you that?
Well, I asked the question. Anyway, there we go. Okay, so but back to the epidurals. So it's the 10 centimeter mark is
too late. Literally, your baby's coming, you're pretty much sitting on their head. You can imagine no woman is going to sit still when their baby's head is starting to be born. It's not natural.
It's just unsafe.
Okay?
Yeah,
and it's just not going to happen. And I guess the other misconception with midwives, you know, not letting women get epidurals, it's if, you know, say I'm your midwife, you come in, you say, Mon, this is what I'm aiming to do for my birth. I really want you to support me to use all those, you know, non-pharmacological pain relief options before I move down the pharmacological options of like morphine, epidural, for example. If a woman is doing so amazing, and we know when a woman is coping well, you know, some women might be like, I'm not coping well, but we know when they are. So if your goal was to try and get through your birth without needing an epidural, of course, if we think it's appropriate, we're going to try and do everything we can to get you through it. But the moment a woman goes, I think I want an epidural, I'm not going, no, you can't get it, right? Because I want her experience to be positive. And we know that there's a stigma associated with epidurals, right? Like
Yeah,
we know.
totally.
What's the stigma?
Like women who don't have one are like, I did it pain-free. And it's and then that in turn makes women who did get an epidural feel like less than.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I
they
walked
go,
in
oh, but I
backwards.
got the
There was
epidural. Yeah. And I mean, that's why I'm realistic, and we know epidurals, there's pros and cons with any type of intervention. Okay. An epidural, we could talk about epidurals for a whole hour. There are some risk factors of it in terms of you know,
course.
if you do get an epidural, you are at higher risk of having an assisted delivery. That's the reality of it. That's the facts. But does that mean that we should prevent women getting it? No, because we're going to try and do everything we can to get them as far through their labor without one, because we know that's the best thing for them and the progress of their labor. But the moment someone says, Mon, I think I need the epidural now, that is my responsibility to do that, because what's she going to do? Yeah, she's going to view her labor and birth as a positive experience. And it's not about me, it's about her. So I guess that, when midwives, we're there to support you. We're your best friend.
And I think that's important. I mean, look, I'm looking back at my birth with my daughter. I had a textbook birth, textbook pregnancy. Every hour they'd come in and check me, and I was a centimetre further dilated. It was like running like clockwork. So great. For me, everything went downhill when I got the epidural. Her heart rate slowed. I developed a fever, and then I needed an assisted birth with forceps. And I just can't help but feel like if I had have maybe just pushed a little bit longer and just not had the epidural, maybe things may have turned out differently. But it's just good to have that hindsight and just kind of, I guess think about it.
Yeah, and I guess that's why I'm so passionate about educating people, because I've already sort of said it, but if you do get an epidural, it's like the first stage of a cascade of intervention. Yeah, if you have an epidural, then you're more likely to be augmentated or with the hormone drip, or your water's broken, and from that the cascade of intervention keeps going. So it's just having that education. It allows you to make the best decisions for yourself. But you cannot say, if I wish that in hindsight maybe I didn't get that, because you can't change it now, and we don't have control over it. But I guess that's why midwives are still very passionate about trying to get women through their labor and birth physiologically, so without the need of, epidurals and things like that, because we're trying to prevent those interventions, that cascade of interventions occurring.
That's right. Yeah. I guess it's more just for number 3, potentially.
Yeah, and you mentioned before about the best friend. Like, you do want to just be their best friend. How many best friends do you have? Like, I remember when I saw my midwife post, I was like, oh, can we be best friends? She was like, hey.
Sure, like, if that's what you need.
Met 5 yesterday, but yeah.
I will be anyone's best friend. I literally always say to women when I'm looking after them, I'm like your pet dog. Like, you tell me to sit, I'll sit. Like, you tell me to roll over, I'll roll over. Like, I'm a bad smell.
I don't think anyone views you like a dog.
No, but I'm like a bad smell. I will follow you everywhere. Like, you can tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Let's just follow on from that bad smell comment. So we touched on this before, but you'll probably poo yourself. And does the midwives, do they care about the poo or not? Like, do you, like, what's the go there?
It's embarrassing.
If we think of physiologically how our body is shaped, right? Think of where your baby is passing through your bowel. It is going to be a normal physiological response for your body to clear out whatever is in the way to make more room for your baby. So I don't know a formal stat, but I would say 9 out of 10 women will poo in labor. And I'm like a poo fairy.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Oh yeah.
But you are the poo fairy. You are.
Like, we see it, we grab it, we glove it, we bin it. If you ask us, like, have you pooed? I will say no. You might smell something, but I will still say no.
You will lie to us? That's so kind.
Oh, that's awesome.
Our husbands didn't lie to us.
Our husbands didn't, that's for sure. Oh, dear.
And often that's why I say, we've got the diffusers going. Like, we've got good smells in the room. And honestly, if we hear a woman say, I feel like I need to poo, or we start to see that potentially she's pooing, I can't tell you how internally happy I am. Like, that is the best thing.
Why?
Because we know your baby's head is so low down that's where you're getting that pressure. And
it's a good sign.
Yeah,
of that.
It's amazing. That's what I mean. We love it. Like, you should not be ashamed of it.
Okay. Because you understand why women are like, we're already legs up around our head.
We're
like dignity's left at the door.
all
inhibitions.
inhibitions.
And then after all that, we're shitting ourselves.
Literally.
I know.
You know what I mean? It's a lot.
We do try to keep the dignity, but that's in terms of I try to, structure it around a physiological response, that it is normal for your body to do that. And also, like, when women think about pooing in labour, that's by far one of their biggest concerns. As a midwife, we don't care at all. Like I said, it's a good thing. But also, another natural thing that your body's going to do before labour starts is it's going to clear out its system a little bit. It's like preparing for birth. So it's making more space for your baby. So often women will be going to the toilet before they go into labour. And also, women aren't doing like massive poos when they're pushing, right? They're not. It's like small, without being gross. Slowly. It's like a small little nugget, unless you've been eating some stuff the night before. I mean, we've seen it all.
Yeah.
We really have.
Yeah,
curry.
Curry.
Yeah, I think
because they're trying to bring on labour, so they're eating curry.
Well, yeah, probably.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I lost all dignity when my obstetrician told me that you could drive a truck through there. That was me gone. So the poo started and then that happened. Yeah, that was fun. It was fun. All right, let's get into the next one.
So let's talk about midwives are in the room, and you probably see a lot of partners. You probably see a lot of partners that are really amazing. You probably see a lot of partners that are really crap and they don't know what to do. So what would you say, like, what should every couple know before they go into the birthing suite? How can the partner, what are the best partners you've seen? What can they do?
So I think I'm just going to say it, being a support person is probably the hardest job you're ever going to play, because you've got two people you care so much about. You've got, your partner, and then you've got this unborn baby, which you love so much, right? So all of a sudden there's two people in front of you who you adore more than anything. And the biggest thing that I see and what partners struggle with is because they haven't educated themselves around birth, they view their partner as being in pain. So, and normal, like a woman in labor, contractions are amazingly powerful. They're intense, they're strong. That's what we need to have a vaginal birth. And seeing your partner look as though she's not comfortable, or might be, I hate referring to birth as pain, because I don't think it should be viewed as painful. It can be really hard. And that's often when the support person will go, oh my God, get her an epidural, right? Because they just totally freak out. They freak out.
Why don't you think birth should be seen as painful?
Because I think naturally, as soon as we say the word pain, so when I'm looking after a woman in labour, I will never refer to anything as pain. Because as soon as you say the word pain, what do? Your brain holds on to that and goes, hey, am I in pain? Yes, I'm in pain. This is painful. I can't cope with this. And you will see how her mindset will shift. So I say, we don't say the P word. We change it from pain to power. Like, contractions should be viewed as powerful, because we need strong, regular contractions.
Shivers. That is such a shift in mindset. Honestly, that's a real... Yeah, that's a nugget there.
It is though.
A golden one, not the one we were just talking about.
But honestly, I think for birth especially, we can paint a really poor picture of it. And me seeing women do it most days, like, they're powerful, they're amazing. And I think we'll talk a bit later about, why we need strong regular activity of the uterus to have a baby. But going back to the support person, in terms of support people, I've seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I mean, one time a dad was so educated. Sounds really bad, but the woman was in the shower, the dad was in the shower supporting her, and I was there as well. And she was giving birth in the shower, and we were so busy that I didn't have another midwife with me. So I said, look, Dad, can you hold the torch? He shone the torch and he helped me birth. The woman birthed her baby, but he helped me, and he was so into it. He loved it. He was there to support her. And I think that's what I'm saying is, you can be involved as much as you want, right? You can always find something to do. I always refer to the dad as like a cheerleader, right? They're the ones that should be offering her food. They're the ones that should be offering her words of encouragement. they're the ones that should be encouraging her to go to the toilet. But just don't do nothing. Don't be the
Not
dad
falling
that
asleep.
sits on falling asleep.
On his phone or,
Yeah, don't move the car. Don't FaceTime friends. Don't call families. I think it's just you need to be present in the moment. And
Yeah,
the
that's fair.
woman, like, although me and the woman will become best friends, she loves you more than me, right?
Besties.
Like,
Oh, maybe not in this moment, but yes, generally.
Yeah, not normally.
Yeah.
Normally we're just yelling at them.
Yeah, but like,
You
So
did
they
this
just
to
have
me.
to deal with it.
You
It
did
is-
this to me.
Yeah, you did this to me. It must be a pretty hard position to be in. We're never going to be in that position. So
Yeah.
I also
No, not that I'm aware of.
I also say as a support person, and this is what I teach people in my classes, that the hardest thing is probably when, women have educated themselves. They've, for example, gone, I'm going to try and do everything. I do not want an epidural. And then they get into the birth suite and they go, I want an epidural. And as a support person, you've gone, but you've told me for the last 9 months that that's not
that
what
must
you
be
wanted.
so hard to deal with us. Oh my gosh.
So I think I always say to the men that you have to validate the way that she's feeling. You can't say no, like, no, you're okay, right? Because that's just dismissing how she's feeling. You have to say to her, I know this is really challenging right now, but this is what we've spoken about, and give her another example of maybe we should try this instead before we do that. But just
Come with
supporting her.
solutions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, come armed with solutions.
So what would be your top tips to a support person? If you were talking to, your brother-in-law or someone like that, what would you tell them?
So I always say, just like women, we have a labour toolkit. A support person needs a support toolkit. You need to know what role you're going to play on the day prior to that day coming. In terms of, you need to know if your partner likes massage, where are the spots that you're massaging? How are you going to do it? Because if you don't practice these things and you go in going, yeah, I'll be fine, and you touch her, she's going to tell you to piss off within a second, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, surround yourself with birth. I think as males, we just walk in even more blindsided than a lot of women. Yeah, but often it's really challenging. So it's knowing that you actually need to educate yourself, validate her emotions first whenever she says something, and then comfort her, but then offer her a solution and work with her. Okay, so not just dismissing the way that she's feeling is really important, and be involved as much as you can, because there is a lot as a support person you can do. And if you feel like you don't know what to do, you ask your midwife as well.
Yeah, such good advice. So I guess now with modern day birthing and how you operate, is it true that midwives don't go in with a preconceived idea of how this birth is going to go? That midwives are constantly checking in on mum, checking in on baby to see how they're going, and then the course of action is kind of altered according to how everyone's going? Would you say?
Yeah. Well, I always say, as soon as a woman walks into the room, right, I'm automatically going to be telling myself that she's going to do amazing. This is, we're going to still strive for a normal vaginal birth, which is going to be an empowering experience. But we know birth can shift and it can change, and it's how do we adapt to that? And there's many reasons for why birth can go down different avenues. But as a midwife, like, it's my role to look after you and to look after your baby. So you both are my patients, right? I'm constantly monitoring the mum, constantly monitoring the baby, and depending on how those two things are coping together is going to determine what course of action we're going to take. So I guess, like, routine observations for a midwife this is why we follow you around. We are your best friend, because we're never far away. We'll give you your space, but we're never far away, because the hardest thing as a midwife is, and it's not probably until you've had a baby that you realize how much midwives actually do, but we do a heck of a lot, and making sure you are safe and your baby is safe is our ultimate priority. So we're constantly checking your baby's heart rate, which I said, but also we're monitoring your uterine activity. So we're seeing how often is your uterus contracting. Is it contracting enough for us to have a vaginal birth, or potentially is it a bit lower and we need to boost it? Things like that, or pain management. can we offer you solutions? Can we offer you to get into the shower, in the bath? And then I guess your more internal sort of assessments are your vaginal examinations. And most women will get offered a vaginal examination within 2 hours of going into a birthing suite. Okay. And the thing about vaginal examinations is once you've had one and you have a dilation status, so referring to how open your cervix is, you're sort of plotted on a labor graph, right? And that's the challenging thing, that once you've had it, you're on that graph, and we use our research to go, if they're in active labor, they should be in this many hours, this many centimeters from that point. And that's the back end of the hospital going, okay, yep, she's going to be potentially fully dilated at this point. She'll be pushing by this point. We should have a baby at this point, and then next person come in, right? That's the truth of the hospital setting. But routinely, depending on how many centimeters dilated you are, most often we're offering a vaginal examination every 4 hours throughout labor.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because when I was in labor with my first, I called up on the phone, the hospital answered, and I said, I'm in labor, and she said, oh, is this your first, love? And I was like, yes, it's my first. She's like, oh, call me back in a few hours. She didn't really check in on that. And I was already in active labor, and I had to listen to my own gut. And as soon as I got in and saw the midwife, she was like, oh, wow, we're ready to go. Like, it's happening. So, yeah, it's funny that you say the hospital have a predetermined, backtracking sort of process.
Like a graph.
Oh, that's good to know.
Can we just touch on that though? Because another kind of myth is that, and I don't know if this could be a myth or it might not be a myth, but basically when you call to let your midwife know that you're in labour, they gauge the sound of your voice to determine if you are actually needing to come into the hospital or if you've got a few more hours of pre-labour at home before you actually need to come in. Is that true?
Okay, this isn't a myth. This is true.